name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Jesus tells this story. He said, in that city, there was a widow who kept coming to a judge time and time again. Grant me justice, she would say. Grant me justice against my opponent. Grant me justice. The seminary professor tells this story from a number of years ago. He said he met one of the students in line at the copy machine. The student told the professor he was getting ready to move to Sandtown. Now, does that place sound familiar? Then, as of now, that's one of the poorest, most blighted areas in Baltimore. It's also, as you well know, was the home of Freddie Gray. And Freddie Gray was one of the most tragic stories in Baltimore's history. Sandtown is a neighborhood in West Baltimore. The name comes from the trails of sand that the wagons would leave behind as they left the local gravel quarry. That was back in the days of hand-drawn wagons. To this day, Sandtown remains one of Baltimore's most blighted and problematic areas. In the second half of the 20th century, Sandtown experienced economic depression, housing, abandonment, and crime. And many would say that residents like Freddie Gray never had a chance. So then, why was that seminary student some years ago moving to Sandtown of all places? He said it was to do justice. To do justice. Now, rarely, if at all, does anybody choose to move to Sandtown. Most of the residents want to leave the place. But to do justice, he said. He also tells the story. He said it was touch and go at first. The police thought he must be a drug dealer that's moving into the area. The locals thought he was probably an undercover police officer. And yet, this student was concerned about the poorest, most marginalized residents. To do justice. He was working for their betterment, but also for his own transformation. This is some of what it means to do justice. Grant me justice, the widow in Jesus' story says over and over again. The word justice comes from the Hebrew word mishpat. You can find that word used hundreds of times in Hebrew Scriptures. In the Psalms, it says on more than one occasion that justice and righteousness are the foundation of God's throne, meaning that justice is one of the bedrock characteristics of God. Justice. It's important enough for Jesus to create a story about it. Its most basic meaning is this: to treat people equitably, fairly, and respectfully. Justice is also acquitting, or maybe in some cases punishing, every person on merits alone, regardless of race or social status or economics. Justice. It's giving people what they are due. Yes, sometimes in the case of punishment, but also protection and care. When Jesus talks about justice, it's because several classes of people are particularly vulnerable to injustice. And among those groups are widows, orphans, immigrants, or as the Bible calls them, foreigners, and the poor. In the world of Jesus, these four groups in particular have no social power whatsoever. They probably don't even have any rights. And so the Bible tells the stories over and over again of God's love and concern for just such as these. Today, the vulnerable would include migrant workers, homeless, and even some elderly. These are the ones who are most in need of justice, and yet they are rarely recipients of the justice they so very much need. So why are migrants, immigrants, foreigners again, in biblical terminology, why are they among the biblical and today's most vulnerable people? Well, simply put, those who are migrants or immigrants, they no longer have a history. They no longer have a safety net of any kind. Simply put, everything that they know, everything that they possess, everything that they rely upon has been left behind. It has been left behind so that a better, safer world can be found somewhere else. Why are widows, like the one in Jesus' story, included among the biblically vulnerable? It's because they no longer have status of any kind. Likely they don't even have any more family, and often they have no property. Widows are oftentimes thrust into a solitary life, and again, with no safety net of any kind. Justice is also about right relationship or righteousness, meaning fairness, equity, to see in others the person that God already loves and gives value to. Justice points to a life of right relationship with all people, not just a favored few. We are called to live with fairness, with equity, and in justice, yes, generosity. Justice as generosity includes compassion, love, acceptance, and inclusion, again, for all people. Generosity also includes the common good. It includes, say, the support of communities, faith communities such as this, so that we collectively can grant justice in love. No exceptions allowed. St. Teresa of Avila says that if you want to see the healing hands of God, look at your own. Look at your own healing hands. That's because God enters the world through our faith, enters the world through our prayer, and God enters the world through our actions. That's why that then new resident Sandtown was doing years ago, working for the betterment of that community as well as for his own transformation. Grant me justice, says the woman in Jesus' story, and will not God grant justice, Jesus says. It also explains that he tells this parable and this story as a reminder of the need to pray always, but also keep in mind that the purpose of constant prayer is not about changing God's mind. Rather, persistence in prayer is an outward and visible sign of a faith and trust that we hold deep within. Or as someone else has said, prayer is not intended to change the way of God, but rather to discover God's way in us. God's way is to be the justice and love that our world so desperately needs. Grant me justice. In God's name.
Amen.